I wasn't trying to get anyone fired. That's the part people never believe when I tell this story. They think I had some grand revenge plan, that I woke up one morning, cracked my knuckles, and decided to burn everything down. But the truth is, I just wanted peace. A normal morning. No shouting, no blame, no emails marked urgent at 10:43 p.m. I work in IT, mid-sized tech company, about 70 employees, 20 of them thinking the Wi-Fi is powered by the cloud in the sky. My job's simple. Keep things running, patch the holes, stop people from downloading viruses disguised as invoice.pdf.exe. It's quiet work, or it was until Nathan arrived. Nathan was my new operations manager, the kind of guy who wears a watch just so he can look at it when you're talking. Loud, overconfident, allergic to accountability. He'd been transferred from another branch after what HR called a management restructuring. Translation, they couldn't stand him there either. At first, he treated me like a useful tool. "Hey, IT guy," he'd say, snapping his fingers, like I was a vending machine that dispensed solutions. I ignored it. You learn early in IT that silence is safer than sarcasm. But silence only encourages people like Nathan. Within a month, he was copying my reports, pasting his name on top, and presenting them in meetings like they were gospel. The CEO loved him, or at least loved his volume. "Finally," he'd say, clapping Nathan on the back, "someone with energy around here." I'd stand there in the corner, half a coffee in hand, wondering how you measure energy when all it does is make other people tired. The breaking point came on a Thursday, end of quarter, nerves everywhere. Nathan barged into my cubicle, red-faced, waving his phone like it was a court summons. "You changed the server credentials again?" he barked. "It was a scheduled rotation," I said. Policy update. "Every 90 days. "Well, now I can't access the finance drive." "Because you're not on the finance team," I replied, keeping my voice even. He stared at me. Smile tight. The kind of smile people use right before they decide to make you their hobby. "Fix that." "Can't," I said. "Access requests go through compliance." That's when his voice rose, loud enough that people turned. "You're not compliance," he snapped. "You work for me." "I work for the system," I said quietly. "You just use it." That earned me a report to HR for unprofessional tone. No suspension, but a warning. "Be mindful of hierarchy," the HR rep told me, reading from a template email. I thanked her for her wisdom and went back to my desk. But something didn't sit right. That night, around 9 p.m., I was finishing a routine backup when I noticed an active session logged into the admin console. From Nathan's account. Except Nathan didn't have admin privileges. I traced it. The login came from my own credentials. Someone had used my Save Session token to access the system, masked as me. It wasn't hard to guess who had the gall, and just enough ignorance to try that. I didn't panic. I just documented everything. Timestamps, IP addresses, session IDs, all of it. Then I did what every IT person eventually does when they've been pushed too far. I tightened security. I revoked every non-essential admin access, changed all master passwords, and rerouted authentication to require physical verification from my key. Clean by the book, fully within protocol, no drama, no confrontation, just control restored. At 5:52 the next morning, my phone started buzzing on the nightstand. By the fourth call, I picked up. It was security. "Hey, man," the guard said nervously. "You might want to come in. Nathan's outside the building. He's losing it." By the time I got there, the parking lot was half full and silent, except for Nathan's voice echoing across the glass lobby. "Who the hell changed the passwords?" He was pounding on the glass doors with both fists. His tie was crooked, his hair wet from sweat. "Morning," I said, swiping my badge. He spun around. You locked me out of the system." "It's called a security refresh," I said evenly. "IT standard. You got the memo." "I don't need a memo. I need access." People from accounting had started gathering, pretending to check their phones. He kept shouting, waving his badge like it was supposed to open the universe for him. I could almost hear the collective second-hand embarrassment humming in the air. Then from behind us, a low voice. "Nathan!" We both turned. The CEO stood by the elevator, coffee in one hand, a folded sheet of paper in the other. His expression wasn't angry. It was tired. "Maybe you should come to my office," he said. Nathan straightened his jacket. Finally, someone reasonable. "This idiot." The CEO raised the paper. "You mean the idiot who sent me this?" Nathan froze. I looked closer. It was a printed email. My email. The one I'd left in drafts last night. The one detailing every unauthorized login, every breach Nathan made using my credentials. Except I never hit send. The CEO's eyes met mine. Calm. Measuring. "Let's have a word," he said quietly. Nathan swallowed hard. That was the moment the noise in the office finally stopped. But that was just the beginning. Nathan followed the CEO into his office like a man walking toward a firing squad, and still convinced he'd talk his way out of it. I trailed behind because the CEO gestured for me to. No one said anything on the short walk through the hall. Just the sound of our shoes and the distant hum of air conditioning. When the door closed, the CEO placed the paper flat on the table. "Grant," he said to me, calm as a surgeon, "you sent this at 11:47 last night?" I shook my head. "No, sir, I wrote it. It was in my drafts folder. I didn't send it." Nathan exhaled sharply, almost laughing. "See? There's your answer. He's making stuff up. Trying to—" The CEO held up a finger. "Nathan, sit." It was the kind of tone that freezes a room. Nathan sat. The CEO turned the page around and tapped a line with his pen. "This email contains screenshots of system logs, access attempts, and file modifications from your account. They reference timestamps that match the server backup schedule. Grant, where did you get this data?" "From our internal audit console. It logs all administrator-level activity. I maintain those logs as part of my role." Nathan leaned forward, red-faced. "He's framing me. Anyone could—" The CEO looked at him. "Stop." Silence. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "Nathan, I already asked compliance to verify this. They confirmed last night's login attempts from your workstation. Your terminal ID matches the entries. Grant's key hasn't been used since 6 Power PM yesterday." Nathan blinked. His lips parted, then closed again. I sat still. Hands folded. Breathing slow. The CEO turned back to me. "Grant, you're saying you didn't send this?" "No, but the information is accurate. I drafted it as documentation in case this escalated. Someone must have accessed my account remotely. Or maybe—" I hesitated. "Maybe the system triggered an automated report. I keep a draft with full logs in case of data breaches." The CEO nodded slowly. "That might explain it." Then to Nathan, "Would you like to explain why you were accessing payroll databases with unauthorized credentials?" Nathan's hands started to move. "You told me to get results. I was checking the invoices." "I didn't tell you to falsify access records," the CEO interrupted, voice sharp now. "I didn't tell you to impersonate another employee." Nathan turned to me, eyes wild. "You set me up." I looked at him, not angry, just tired. "You set yourself up the moment you used my credentials. I just cleaned up after you." He pushed his chair back with a screech. "You think you're clever? You think the company will take your word over mine?" The CEO didn't even look at him. "They'll take the logs, Nathan. Logs don't have feelings." Nathan's mouth opened, closed, and then opened again, like a fish trying to negotiate oxygen. You can't do this. I've been here 6 years. And in those 6 years," the CEO said evenly, "how many of your team members have resigned citing toxic management?" Nathan's silence was answer enough. The CEO sighed, leaned back, and folded his hands. "Here's what's going to happen. HR will conduct a formal review. You're suspended until further notice. I suggest you take a few days to think about how you want to handle this." Nathan stood. "You're siding with him?" "I'm siding with the data," the CEO said. "Now go home." When the door closed behind him, the CEO exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for a year. Then he looked at me. "You handled this better than I would have," he said. "Most people would have tried to embarrass him publicly." "I just wanted him to stop yelling," I said. He gave a small smile. "Funny thing about people like Nathan. They think volume equals authority." He picked up the email again. "You might have saved us a lot of trouble." I nodded, unsure what to say. "Go home for the day," he added. "HR will contact you for a statement. And Grant." "Sir?" "Good work, even if it wasn't intentional." I left the building to the same quiet hum of fluorescent lights, the same clicking keyboards. Except now, people's eyes followed me. They didn't smile. They didn't look away either. Just curiosity mixed with fear, like they'd watched someone touch a live wire and walk away unharmed. I got in my car and sat there, engine off. My hands were steady, but inside, something was shifting. A slow realization that I wasn't the same guy who'd walked in an hour ago. I didn't know it yet, but that decision, that quiet, reasonable act of just doing my job, was about to cost them everything. That afternoon, HR sent a meeting invite for Monday. Subject line, follow-up, internal security incident. I clicked accept and went home. For the first time in months, I slept without dreaming about error messages. Monday morning, 8:30 sharp. Conference room, glass walls, too bright. HR compliance, the CEO, and me, no Nathan. The HR rep smiled like this was routine. "Grant, thanks for coming in. We've reviewed the logs you provided. Excellent documentation, by the way." "Thanks," I said. She glanced at her notes. "We're aware that some of your reports were sent automatically through a security script." "Yes," I lied smoothly. "They generate summaries if unauthorized access exceeds threshold values." She nodded. "That's impressive. May I ask when you implemented that?" "About 3 months ago. Preventive measure." The CEO gave me a look, half curiosity, half respect. "Smart move." They asked a few more procedural questions, all polite, all leading to one conclusion. Nathan had been sloppy, arrogant, and reckless. But what they didn't know was how deep it went. He hadn't just accessed random folders. He'd been pulling expense reports, vendor contracts, internal client data, and he'd been forwarding them to a personal account. I'd found it all over the weekend, hidden folders, cloud sync traces like breadcrumbs left by a man who thought no one was watching. I didn't mention that part. Not yet. I waited. Because I knew once they opened the full audit logs, the company's legal department would get involved. And when they did, I wouldn't have to say a single word. When I left the meeting, people were whispering near the elevators. Nathan hadn't returned since Friday. Rumor said he'd been escorted out by security. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I just went back to my desk, logged in, and stared at the login dashboard. Everything stable. Everything quiet. For now. Because that afternoon I got a text from Nathan. Just 5 words. "You think this is over?" And then silence. The kind that means something's gone wrong. The text came in at 2:14 p.m. I stared at it for a long time, reading those 5 words again and again. "You think this is over?" Nathan never did endings well. Not arguments, not meetings, not relationships. He always needed the last word, the last move, even if it meant setting the board on fire. I locked my phone, opened my console, and pretended to keep working. But a voice in the back of my head whispered, "Don't underestimate a man who's cornered and humiliated." That night, I stayed late at the office. The cleaning crew passed through around 8. By 9, the place was silent except for the soft hum of the servers in the next room. I was running system checks, not because I had to, but because something in me needed to make sure everything was clean. Then I saw it, a string of failed logins from Nathan's old account. Dozens of them, one every 2 minutes, all remote. Each attempt came from a different IP address, bouncing through VPNs. It wasn't amateur work. Someone was trying to bury their trail. I froze. For a few seconds, all I could hear was the buzz of the fluorescent light overhead. I took a breath, then opened a terminal and began tracing the pattern. Whoever it was had managed to breach our perimeter firewall twice. Short sessions, quick probes, like they were testing weak spots. The name Nathan sat in the log files like a bad smell that wouldn't leave. I didn't call anyone. I didn't panic. I did what I've been trained to do. Document, secure, isolate. I copied the logs to an external drive, locked down our remote access gateway, and rerouted our internal DNS to a monitored sandbox. Then I sent a short, neutral message to the CEO. Detected unauthorized login attempts from a deactivated account. Mitigation in progress. Full report tomorrow. He replied 3 minutes later. Keep everything logged. Do not engage. We'll handle it. I left the building at 11:30 p.m. The parking lot was empty, streetlights buzzing. My reflection in the glass door looked exhausted but calm, like someone who'd already decided what kind of man he was going to be when this got ugly. Morning came with chaos. I'd barely poured my first coffee when my phone exploded with messages. HR, compliance, even security. The network had gone into emergency lockdown overnight. By the time I got to the office, half the company was standing outside. Badges useless, laptops in hand, confused faces. The automatic doors blinked red. What happened? Someone asked. I didn't answer. I walked straight to the server room, swiped in with my physical key, and saw the CEO already there. Sleeves rolled up, jaw tight. Grant, he said, close the door. Inside, the monitors glowed with error messages. Backup system offline. Email queue suspended. Database replication frozen mid-transfer. It looked like someone had triggered a full-scale lockdown from the inside. I stepped closer. This isn't a hack, I said. This is an execution script. The CEO frowned. Explain. It's internal. Someone used admin-level credentials, not external access. Whoever ran it had root authority. His expression darkened. Nathan? Hasn't worked here in 4 days. He crossed his arms. Then how the hell did he get in? I didn't answer. Not yet. I was already checking the logs. There it was, buried in the system tasks. A scheduled job executed at 3:02 a.m. The user ID matched Nathan's. But the task origin didn't. It came from a shared terminal, one in the manager's wing. A terminal that still had Nathan's credentials cached. He hadn't hacked in. He'd left a back door, a timed payload that executed automatically once his suspension kicked in. I turned to the CEO. He left this before he was locked out. The CEO's hand clenched on the desk. What's the damage? Data replication suspended. Mail servers frozen. Finance systems read only. It's reversible, but we need to isolate before restoring. He nodded. Do it. I worked for 3 hours straight, fingers burning, the smell of static in the air. Every keystroke felt like cutting wires on a bomb I couldn't see. When I finally stabilized the system, the CEO got a call. He listened in silence, said, understood, and hung up. That was legal, he said. We've got a bigger problem. I looked up. They traced a data dump to a personal cloud account. Confidential vendor contracts, some client data. All downloaded under Nathan's credentials. He met my eyes. We filed a police report. For the first time since this all began, I saw something break in his composure. Not fear exactly. Disappointment. Like realizing you'd trusted a rabid dog because it wore a suit. The rest of the day unfolded like slow-motion wreckage. HR locked down files. Legal drafted statements. The police arrived that afternoon. 2 officers in plain clothes, calm, efficient. They moved through the office like ghosts, collecting devices, asking questions, downloading logs. I gave them everything. USB drive, timestamps, access lists. No drama, no speech, just facts. When they left, the CEO turned to me. Grant, I don't say this often, but you did the right thing. I just followed protocol. He smiled, tired. Sometimes protocol's the only thing standing between chaos and collapse. I went home around 8 that night. The parking lot was dark again, but this time it didn't feel empty. It felt cleansed, like something toxic had finally been drained. At 10:12 p.m., I got another text, unknown number. They thought I was gone. I wasn't. My hand hovered over the screen. I didn't reply. I just stared at it until the message faded into the background light of my phone. Then I powered it off, placed it face down on the table, and sat in silence. The next morning, when I walked into the office, Nathan wasn't at his desk, but two uniformed officers were. They carried a warrant. Apparently, the stolen data had been traced to his personal cloud. The timestamp matched the night before the password change, meaning he'd been stealing files long before he ever blamed me. When they led him out through the main hallway, the entire office went silent. Nathan didn't look at anyone. He just kept walking, head down, hands cuffed in front of him. As the elevator doors closed, I caught a glimpse of his reflection. The same man who used to scream across rooms, now completely quiet. For once, the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was earned. But it wasn't over. Not yet. Because later that afternoon, the CEO called me into his office. On his desk was a sealed envelope with my name, written in clean, bold handwriting. He looked at me. Before the police took Nathan's workstation, I asked IT to do a forensic scan. They found something you should see. He slid the envelope across. Inside was a printed email chain. The sender, Nathan. The recipient, the CEO. The subject line, regarding Grant's performance. It was a month old. A complaint letter, detailed, venomous, full of half-truths about me, deliberately sabotaging systems, and creating unnecessary workload for management. At the bottom was a note from the CEO. Nathan, appreciate the context. Let's discuss this privately next week. See. The CEO met my eyes. I read this again today. I think I owe you an apology. I nodded once. No need. I figured it out. He exhaled. You're a good man, Grant. I looked at the letter again, then at him. No. Just a patient one. That night I drove home under a sky that felt heavier than usual. Not dark, just full. I didn't play music, didn't think about work. I just kept replaying that text in my head. They thought I was gone. I wasn't. And maybe he was right. Maybe ghosts don't leave quietly. But that night, as I checked the server logs one last time and saw the clean, steady heartbeat of our network, I realized something. The real revenge isn't loud. It's the quiet after the storm, the hum of order where chaos used to live. The morning after Nathan's arrest, the office was a different planet. No shouting, no slammed doors, no fake pep talks about team synergy. Just the soft buzz of monitors, the tapping of keys, and the faint hum of the coffee machine that used to sputter during his morning tantrums. People whispered, sure. You could feel the tension lingering in the air like static that hadn't fully discharged. But it wasn't fear anymore. It was something closer to relief. I got to my desk early, out of habit. Logged in. No error messages, no access requests. The network was clean, flawlessly clean. Every process ran like it was finally allowed to breathe. At 9:17 a.m., the CEO sent a company-wide email. It was short. Following an internal investigation, Nathan M. is no longer with the company. We are reviewing our security policies and will be implementing new access protocols immediately. C. No spin, no corporate poetry, just fact. Minutes later, people started dropping by my desk. Not to gossip, but to say thank you. Some quietly, almost embarrassed. Others just nodded, the way soldiers nod when they pass each other after a battle they didn't ask for. By noon, I'd had enough thank yous to last a lifetime. I turned off my notifications, walked to the small break room, and poured myself a cup of stale coffee. It tasted like burnt cardboard, but it was quiet. That was enough. The CEO found me there. No suit jacket this time, just a white shirt rolled at the sleeves. He leaned against the counter like he'd been carrying something heavy and had finally set it down. "Grant," he said, "we're promoting you." I almost laughed. "Sir, with respect, I don't want Nathan's job." He smiled faintly. not his job, his responsibilities. I want you to oversee the new data security policy. Set the rules from the ground up. I stared at him. You sure you want someone like me writing the rules? He raised an eyebrow. I want someone who respects them. I didn't say yes immediately. I just nodded slowly, thinking about all the nights I'd stayed late, fixing things nobody noticed, getting yelled at by someone who thought noise was leadership. Take your time, he said, pushing off the counter. HR will draft the offer. Oh, and Grant? Sir? You were right. Silence isn't weakness. He left, and for the first time since this whole mess began, I smiled. Not out of pride, but then out of something cleaner. Something that felt like closure. Over the next week, the company changed fast. Every access point got a new encryption key. Every admin log was mirrored to an off-site server. HR ran a full audit of management communications. And me? I worked quietly, line by line, writing new policy documents, testing backup scripts, restoring order to something that had been corroded by arrogance for years. It felt good. Not triumphant, just steady. Like setting a broken bone the right way after too long, pretending it didn't hurt. People still talked about Nathan, of course. Rumors drifted about him trying to sue, about lawyers, about settlements. I didn't care. That chapter wasn't mine anymore. But one afternoon, about a month later, I got an email. Unknown address. Subject line. You won. The body was empty. Just that. I didn't reply. I didn't even save it. I read it once, then deleted it, because there was nothing left to say. These days, I still come in early. 6 a.m. sharp. Same parking spot, same hallway, same server room. But now, when I swipe my badge, I don't brace myself for yelling. I don't hear someone pounding on the door, demanding access they never earned. I just hear the steady whir of the machines, the low, constant rhythm of systems running exactly the way they should. Some mornings I sit there in the half-light, coffee in hand, watching the monitors glow green. It's not excitement I feel, it's peace. The kind that doesn't need to be celebrated or announced. The kind that just exists. People think revenge is a grand act, a punchline, a viral ending. It's not. Revenge is sleeping through the night without checking your phone. It's walking into your office and not flinching. It's knowing you don't owe anyone a reaction. I didn't destroy Nathan. He destroyed himself. I just stopped cleaning up after him. Now, every login prompt greets me with silence. The kind that used to scare me but now feels like reward. Sometimes new hires ask about the old days. They've heard stories. The manager meltdown, the password morning. They always want to know what it was like. I tell them the truth. It was loud, I say, and then one day it wasn't. They laugh, not realizing that's the whole story. That Friday I stayed late again. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I ran the final system check, confirmed backups, closed the reports. Then I turned off the office lights one by one, each click echoing softly in the dark. On my way out, I paused by the glass doors, staring at my reflection. No tie, no stress, just me. The parking lot was empty, the city quiet. The servers hummed behind me, steady, obedient, alive. I unlocked my car, slid in, and sat there for a moment. My phone buzzed once. A calendar reminder, security, rotation, complete. I smiled, deleted the notification, and drove home under a sky washed clean. No noise, no drama, no ghosts, just the soft hum of a server that finally runs clean.